everybody, Resident Loser Jeremy here. There are so many M1 videos on YouTube right now, especially with dealing with audio production and mixing and stuff. They're awesome. Okay, I have one, I love it, it's great. I have a little bit of a different take though. I don't want to make another video to show you how awesome the M1 is because there's tons out there, and if you're on the fence about it, just do it. It's great. The only thing you're going to run into is other plugin companies and technology catching up with what is happening there, or if you want to hold out for the next chips down the line. The thing I ran into, I had an issue with my M1. It needed fixed. Something happened with the screen, it wasn't working. I only had this thing for like 2 months and that happened. But to be honest, it took me a long time to get this thing into the shop because I wasn't super excited, because if we've heard anything about Apple, it's that their customer service is bad, right? This was a totally different story, to the point where I needed to make a video about it. So long story short, something happened with the screen. I don't know. Yeah, that is a band-aid on my finger. I cut it changing my oil yesterday. Ignore that. I wasn't super pumped to try to get this fixed. I've taken Macs to shops years ago. Back when I had like my first iMac, there was an issue and it was just a nightmare to get fixed. And that didn't go back to Apple. It went to like an Apple approved service center. And that's not even worth mentioning because that would be reviewing the service center, not Apple itself. But regardless, we've all heard stories about how Apple can be kind of a nightmare to work with as far as their customer service and repairs go. I think the pandemic kind of forced Apple into rethinking how they were doing some of their repairs. But going on to actually start the process and look at where I could get this thing repaired, I noticed one of the options was to message someone. That was the easiest thing in the world. It came up in my iMessages on my iPhone like it was a text, and I could talk to a specialist, and they were crazy helpful. They gave me all the options as far as fixing my Mac, and there was no shortage of options for me, and I picked the best one. For me, I didn't want to have to drive. It would have been about 45 minutes to the shop that they recommended, which I'm sure they would have done a great job, but for me, I could get an overnight package to pack this thing up, send it back to them, they would do what they need to do, and then send it back to me in that same package. This process was the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. The one thing I was worried about was with repair, you have to disable all your passwords, do a backup, disable all of your purchasing on the computer itself, but I couldn't do that because I couldn't see anything. And no, the USB outputs, I didn't have anything to hook up to it, so I couldn't see to turn on an external display. It wasn't working for some reason. So I did what I could. I even called a specialist to make sure, like, hey, I can't go through these steps. Is this still okay? They said it was, and I sent it in. 4 days later, they said it was complete, and I got the Apple email right next to the shipment email saying that I would receive a package the next day. Thought, there's no way. This is the Mac. That's too fast. There's no chance that they're moving that quickly on this thing. Turns out they were. The next day, the Mac was at my house, on my doorstep, working perfectly. They didn't delete anything. I don't notice a difference, it's just working. No charge, nothing. That was a crazy fast turnover, really helpful customer service, whether I was doing it through text message or calling. And the process of them sending me the packaging to get everything done and send it back was honestly one of the easiest low stress situations of getting a piece of hardware like this, which isn't cheap. As far as computers go, it's not expensive, but it's not cheap, but I didn't worry about it. By the way, they pay to ship this box to you, which comes with a return label, and then they pay to ship it back to you. So I literally had no out-of-pocket expense for shipping this thing. It was literally just my time and putting it in the box. Easiest thing ever. Honestly, I have a lot of Apple products. I have the Mac Pro, I have the M1, I still have an old Mac trash can, I use iPhones, I have an Apple Watch. For all intents and purposes, I'm an Apple fanboy, but it's for these reasons that I do it. When it comes down to it, I don't care if I'm using a Mac or a Windows machine, I just want something that works. This bummed me out because for a while it wasn't working, but holy cow, they fixed that situation fast. I don't think I've ever come into contact with customer service that acted that quickly, that effectively, and that efficiently. And everything was honored under the warranty of the machine, which I don't know if that's a good representation of everyone that encounters an issue like this, but it seems like there's enough negative press out there to warrant me giving my opinion on what happened. And it was a breeze. It was simple. If you're on the fence between Mac and something else, just for the simple fact that you don't want to deal with a company who doesn't care about you, I think that may be changing. They're putting a lot of effort into making the customer feel valued, making the overall process just crazy easy. I never fill out surveys, and at the end of this thing, I filled out this survey. I wanted them to know how good this was. This is something Apple's doing really, really right, and I wanted to make sure they had feedback on that. It seems like Apple, just because of their size, they get beat up a lot. There's fanboys, there's haters on both sides. I don't know where I fall into that camp. Probably not a hater. I'm not gonna buy an Apple product just because it's an Apple product. I'm gonna buy an Apple product because after this experience, I'm fine spending a little bit more money on machines that are awesome, machines that consistently work for me, and customer service that I know has my back. After going down that road, I feel a lot better about that. And I thought you guys should know. So if there is some hangups on getting on board with an M1, because a lot of people have asked me if it's worth it, after this experience, I would say absolutely. Yes, it's worth it. As far as audio goes right now, are all your plugins gonna work? It's coming. It's coming quickly. Can you run a session on it? Absolutely. Can you mix on it? Oh yes, you can. Is everything going to work right off the bat? No. Some companies are just behind, and that's very, very typical. As far as the audio world goes, most of us aren't even on the current OS at any given point. So with that in mind, it's impressive what you can do with these right out of the gate. So anyway, guys, I had to get in here and just toss in my own anecdotal experience when it comes to this, because it was a really good experience. And I don't think this has to be said, but no, I'm not sponsored by Apple. Is that even possible? But no, it's not sponsored. Anyway, guys, I'm Resident Loser Jeremy. I'll see you in the next one.